Good evening, and I'd like to welcome you and call to order our Lucan Biddulph Council meeting for Tuesday, December the 2nd. I would like to acknowledge that I am an ally of Indigenous peoples. The Township of Lucan Biddulph is located on the treaty and traditional territory and ancestral lands of many Indigenous peoples and is covered by several Upper Canada treaties. We honor and respect the history, languages, and cultures of the diverse Indigenous peoples who call Lucan Biddulph home. We endeavor to unlearn colonial mindsets and practices and to grow in knowledge. As we build meaningful relationships, we recognize contributions of Indigenous peoples and respect their leadership and partnership in shaping and strengthening our community. We acknowledge historic and ongoing injustices that Indigenous peoples endure in Canada, and we affirm our commitment to honoring Indigenous voices, nations, and cultures, and to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest? So today is Giving Tuesday, and it is a day following the Black Friday and Small Business Saturday and Cyber Monday sales. Started in 2012, Giving Tuesday is seen as a counter movement to the typical shopping frenzy that we all seem to experience this time of year. For nonprofit organizations, it is a way to raise an awareness of the work that they do and to remind communities how important and valuable donations are. Today, Langford Lumber had a campaign supporting a local nonprofit. Beyond today, many of our businesses are collecting for various organizations across Lucan Biddulph and Middlesex County. On our social media, there is a listing of all the campaigns that are being hosted right now. And I know our staff will continue to update as they receive new information on those giving campaigns. Please refer to that listing when you are thinking of how your gift-giving dollars can be used to make a difference to those in our community that may need an extra hand. A reminder that during the Santa Claus Parade on Saturday, we will be collecting for the Elsa Craig Food Bank. So thank you in advance for your generosity on Saturday and for supporting worthy causes across Lucan Biddulph. So we have no additions to the agenda, but we do have an announcement, and it is not often that we get to recognize a retirement and a public servant who probably never thought of himself as a public servant for the service that he has given to not only our municipality of Lucan Biddulph, but also to the township of South Perth. And of course, I am talking about Steve Tays, the now retired fire chief of the Biddulph Blanchard Fire Department. Steve has devoted 25 years to the service of our community and has been the chief, I'm looking at my CAO, since 2015, 16, since 2016. We all know the demands that it takes to be a firefighter, and in particular, what we call a volunteer firefighter. But we know that it is beyond just volunteering and just showing up. You never know when you're going to be called. You never know what you're going to be called upon to look after. And you never know who you might find when you attend to those calls. Steve, you have given us your time and your leadership, and both our communities are better and stronger for it. You have a well-deserved retirement ahead of you. I know that volunteering will not end with your retirement from the fire department, that you have great aspirations to continue to serve community, and I think probably beyond the borders of our two municipalities. I want to, on behalf of our staff, of our council, but most importantly, on behalf of the residents of Lucan Biddulph, I want to say thank you. You have given so much and have likely felt that, it was just something that you did. I know when I talked to you a couple weeks ago, you told me you were recruited by Gord Goodale, and probably when you first started at the fire department, you didn't know that you'd become chief, but your family is allowed us to share you with them. And we want to thank them for that as well. It can't be easy getting those calls in the middle of the night or on holidays. So we want to thank them for it. But most importantly, we want to say thank you. Thank you often seems trite. It doesn't seem, it can seem very flippant, but it is meaningful. It is felt by all of us around the horseshoe. I know it is felt by the fellows and the girls in the fire department, and it's certainly found by the residents in our municipality, in particular in Granton. So Steve, come on up. We do have a little token to say thank you for your service as chief and to recognize your 25 years of service. So thank you. So the mic can pick you up.
Well, I'd just like to thank everybody in this room for the support that we've had, that I've had, and the amazing group of men and women that I've served with. I couldn't have done it without them, and it's been an amazing career and very rewarding. Thank you for the opportunity.
Great. Thank you. Karen.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
So right now, we have a delegation and a presentation from Jesse McPhail from Public Urbanism. And you'll recall, I guess it was a few meetings ago now, Jesse joined us and presented us with some suggestions for some improvements to the CIP. And I think we're going to discuss that in further detail. And so Jesse, thank you for joining us, and I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good evening, members of council. As was just said, I'm Jesse McPhail. I'm a partner with Republic Urbanism. We've been working with Lisa and the team on some updates to the community improvement plan, primarily under the sort of branch of the Housing Accelerator Fund initiative for the municipality. So one of the kind of main goals here is to introduce some recommended updates and new programming to help support more attainable and rental housing units to help address the housing crisis in the community, as well as provide some options for some improvements to climate resiliency of those buildings. So things like energy efficiency and sustainability improvements to existing rental properties. At maybe the risk of retreading kind of very similar presentation that was given previously, I'll maybe give kind of a brief summary, and then if council or anyone else has any questions, I'm more than happy to go into details. But essentially, the amendments themselves are we've really targeted in terms of the housing accelerator components. We've really targeted some increases to the grant amounts available under some of the existing programs. So the conversion, expansion, and redevelopment program, which primarily kind of targets those like core area commercial kind of mixed use developments. So that would be recommending an increase in that maximum grant value for construction cost matching from $5,000 to $7,500 per application. And then the other one in that camp would be the additional residential unit program. So the current construction cost matching maximum is $5,000. We're recommending upping that to $7,500 as well to reflect changes in construction costs and inflation that's taken place since the CIP was adopted. The primary, I would guess I would say the most significant change to the existing CIP programming, it has to do with the affordable housing program. So this has seen kind of a restructuring into three available incentives. So the first incentive would be a building permit and fee grant that would be equal to 100% of the building permit or application fees that are available or necessary for that project, up to a maximum of $5,000. The second would be a professional fee matching grant. So this would be a grant that would be equal to a portion of any sort of services from an architect or an engineer or a planner or a designer that's a part of that project. And then the third kind of new one in this case would be the introduction of a tax increment grant. So as was explained in a previous presentation, this essentially uses the increase in taxes on a property that would result from a major redevelopment and sort of relieving that back to the property owner or the developer to help encourage that redevelopment. One of the key kind of takeaways for this program, or the eligibility requirements rather for this program, is the funding for the TIG and for the other two programs is tied to the requirement to have a certain number of affordable units as part of the development and maintained as affordable for a minimum period of time. So we have three affordability levels that will determine the level of the grant. So as you can see there on the screen, we have an average market, which would be kind of 90% to 100% of the average market rent for the community. We have near market, which is 80% to 90%, and affordable, which would be under 80%. And then the grant amounts are tied to the number of units that are maintained at that rental level. There are some changes from when council last saw this. So when it was first introduced, the grant period or the amount of time that these annual grants would be offered would be for a period of 25 years. This was originally intended to align with the provincial guidelines or requirements rather for the development charge relief introduced by the ministry. But we've introduced some new language to kind of make that a little more flexible to the municipality, understanding that 25 years can be a bit of a daunting jump from particularly for such a new CIP and a new program. So we want to make sure there's some flexibility there for the municipality to offer less of an obligation, I would say. So that grant period has been introduced as a range. So the minimum grant period would be 10 years with an opportunity for the municipality to extend it up to 25 years if the owner or the proponent was wishing to continue offering those units at an attainable or affordable rate. And the municipality obviously is in support of that. So a couple key things here. In order to continue receiving those grant monies from year to year, the units need to be maintained at an affordable level. The municipality is responsible for determining what average market rent is for each of those unit types. So it'd be bachelor, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, and 3 or more bedroom. We've provided a sort of a baseline to start from based on CMHC data. So that's included in the report there on the screen. So take it with a little bit of a grain of salt, depending on the availability of data in the area and the amount of information available on the rental market. This may not be as reliable as it would be in a larger urban center, which is why we've allowed for some flexibility for the municipality to to make some tweaks there, some contextual kind of changes to that in terms of setting an affordable or an average rental rate that's that makes sense based on the current conditions. So in terms of anything else, no real other changes have been made to the amendments that have been put forward. Just a brief summary, there are some updates to some of the language just to modernize the CIP and make reference to the most up-to-date legislation. We've added some definitions to reflect the new programming. And then there was some clarifying language that was also added to the CIP, or recommended to be added rather, that outlines the county's interest and openness to participating in the local in the township CIP. So we wanted to make that clear. There was already the ability for them to do so, but it's more of an open and kind of formal statement of intent to collaborate on the implementation of the CIP. So with that said, as I said, happy to dive into any more details or answer any questions. But I did just want to kind of give a brief overview, and happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much, Jesse. I'm going to open it up for questions and clarifications from council. And just a reminder that there is also a staff report on this later on in the meeting as well. But Jesse's here as the expert and can help us with some clarification or questions that you might have. Councillor Regan.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Jesse, for the report. Very nice. I was wondering, I think you already covered it, but when you talked about the township determining the at-market rate for the different apartments, and you said that there may be some criteria or guidelines that we can use to make sure that we're in line. Are those things subject to approval, and how closely will they be monitored to make sure that we are in line when we do make that determination?
Great question. So what we have presented there as kind of a baseline is that CMHC data. And so really we've kind of followed the approach that the ministry has taken with the development charge relief approach. So what they do is they have an affordable housing bulletin that the ministry will update on an annual basis based on available data. And so that's kind of like a first, I would call it like kind of like a first step in having a baseline. In speaking with township staff and some of the other local municipalities like North Middlesex and Strathroy-Caradoc that we've also been doing this work with, there was some noted kind of discrepancies between what they're seeing in terms of the rental market versus what's being reported by CMHC. So what we've done is we've kind of established that as a baseline, but the framework that we're looking to set up with this is that just on an annual basis, the idea would be that township staff would kind of take a look at that CMHC data, and it could be brought to council for endorsement, or it could just be set. But the idea would be that rate or those rent levels would be kind of posted for the year, and that's what your measure is. So starting with the CMHC data, if the municipality is collecting data or interested in taking a little bit of a deeper dive into the rental market, because maybe we're kind of scratching our head about that CMHC number for 2 bedrooms, it seems a little low or seems a little high, then it's kind of, we don't really have any prescriptive process to do that. It's certainly encouraged to make sure that it's kind of an informed approach if there's going to be any changes being made. But there's no kind of guidelines, I guess, in kind of a long way of saying there's no guidelines in the CIP, just in an effort to make it as flexible as possible. So it's kind of up to council, up to staff as to what you're comfortable with in terms of the approach for calculating that, and then you can set that. And it's just to make sure that you're not handcuffed to those CMHC numbers that from year to year they may not be as reliable.
All right. Thank you very much, Jesse. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm good.
Okay. Any questions, clarifications? Councillor Hodgins.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you, just want to ask if we did get any, I know we extended the public feedback or comment period. Just wondering if we got any comments or feedback from the public or from our development stakeholders.
So through to the chair, good question. So for myself, I haven't received anything. I don't know if Lisa, if Lisa had received anything since the public meeting.
No, Lisa's shaking her head. She hasn't
Okay.
received anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Mander.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, no, there's a lot of great things in there. Hopefully we get some people taking advantage of this and improving the housing situation. I'm curious, who would be our point of contact? Is it Lisa to see, just say someone wants to walk through it, see if they would qualify, obviously before pulling the trigger, then our point of contact for almost pre-approval, then is that Lisa?
Yes, thank you, through Madam Mayor. Yes, it would first come to myself for a review and a sit down and look at the project. And we meet probably with the treasurer as well and the other staff to, once the application comes in and we can review everything. But that's initially, it starts with me and then we kind of spread it out from there.
And then it's not too onerous, like it stays within our staff for timelines and stuff for the person to know kind of if it qualifies.
Yeah, it would stay within our staff at
Yeah,
the time.
no, looks interesting. Thank you.
Anything else? Jesse, I just wondered about the like the tax increment grant. So like all of this extra funding is coming, we can like we'll be able to use through the half funding. So my question is if, and I'm just going to use numbers for an example. So there's somebody that is eligible for a tax increment grant, and normally they should be paying $1,000, but they're only because of the grant going to be paying $800. Can we pull that $200 from the half funding to make up that difference? Or is that just, I don't want to use the word loss, but is that just the difference that we are going to have to absorb?
Very good question. I would say, first of all, I'm not an expert on taxes and internal workings with taxes, so may turn to your finance or treasurer expert. But in terms of the TIG, I will say the intent with that is that it is quote unquote self-funding. So the intent is really that you're taking the new tax revenues from that redevelopment, and it acts as a rebate. It's called a grant, but really what it is you're collecting taxes every year and you're giving back a portion of that. Now, in terms of making up that loss, I would be hesitant to suggest how that would work. Like I don't know if there could be transfers made based on the CIP budget, or if there is some half funding available to make up that gap. It's a very good question. Again, I would be hesitant to make a definitive answer on that, but I will say that yeah, it is intended to be self-funding. Now, whether or not those lost revenues are made up elsewhere,
Yeah.
That's kind of just, I guess, how those reserves would be spread out and the budget would be organized.
No, I appreciate that. And I mean, when we say, the loss or, the reality is, the hope is that this will be new development and this will be, money that hasn't been received before. So we should be ahead of the game regardless, when it comes to taxes. So even rebating it back, we'll still have collected more than we would have pre-development.
Exactly. And that's the difference between a tax increment and a traditional grant, is that you don't have to budget for it. Yeah, obviously, if you get a major project coming in, it's probably a bigger deal. You're going to want to maybe plan ahead if you're going to be approving a 10-year grant as part of your regular budgeting process. But as far as accounting for it, like for 2026, you don't necessarily have to sit here and make sure we're accounting for a potential project that comes in for that TIG. Because again, the idea is that it's self-funding, but then once you're locked into that program, then you want to make sure that budgeting process accounts for that gap or that loss on a yearly basis until that program's done.
All right, no, appreciate that. That is good to know. All right, one final question, any call out for questions or clarifications on this? I know we had a good discussion a couple weeks ago. Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Jesse. As I mentioned, we've got a staff report later on, so I'm sure that there'll be even more discussion on this. But I know I'm excited about it. I think that it provides new opportunity for the community that we haven't had before. So it'll be anxious. I'll be anxious to watch this roll out. So, but appreciate all the work that you've done to support our staff in getting us to this point.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay,
Thank you,
thanks,
Council.
Jesse. So
Bye.
with that, I would ask for a mover and a seconder to receive that report for information, please. Deputy Mayor Manders and Councillor Regan. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, next we've got an in-person delegation, and I'm pleased to welcome to the speaker's desk Thomas Levesque, and he is the museum manager and curator for the Lucan Area Heritage and Donnelly Museum. And he is joined by a number of committed volunteers, and we thank them all for joining us tonight. And Thomas, it's great to welcome you to your annual visit, and I will turn the microphone over to you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Council. I hope these guys behind me aren't too intimidating. They're just here for support. Excuse me. So I'll give a little recap of our year. Sorry, a lot of you may have heard this at the Mayor's Breakfast, but it's a good place to start. Thank you once again for inviting us there. It was a fun time and I think really good exposure for the museum. So this year was our 30th season. We welcomed over 1,800 visitors this year. We had our annual opening day barbecue and yard sale, which generated over $1,000 for us. We got back to doing some speaking engagements, which was positive because we hadn't been able to do those since COVID, really. Began holding our monthly bingos, which have been met with great enthusiasm by the community and have been an effective fundraiser for the museum, which is good timing as we think our escape rooms are probably finished now. They're kind of run their course. We, of course, had the joy of participating in Canada Day once again, as well as the honor of hosting MPP Steve Pinsonneau when he came to visit Lucan this summer. Got our 30th anniversary celebration with entry by donation, with hot dogs, cake, games, live music, and the opening of 2 exhibits on baseball in Lucan and photography in Lucan, as well as adding a couple artifacts to the Donnelly exhibit. This celebration brought over 100 visitors into the museum alone, which was fabulous. In the fall, we once again held our paranormal investigations and bus tours, and then our Christmas yard sale, which were all positives for us. Overall, it's been a great 30th season for the museum. And as we'll get to the next page, we were able to shrink our deficit significantly, which is great, though sadly it does still remain a deficit. One little note there, that if you did the math, there's something missing on the expenses side. I missed putting in the fundraiser expenses, so that's about $16,000, which would make up the difference there. But the totals and the net remain the same. So we're very glad that we were able to shrink that deficit quite a bit. It is a large part thanks to the bingos, which is speaks to sort of our philosophy where we're hoping to do more fundraisers, even if they're smaller, both for community engagement purposes, and we think it's probably a more effective way than putting all of our eggs in one basket, so to speak. Once again, we'd like to thank the Township for its continued support. At the Mayor's Breakfast, we were really pleased to hear that in the new logo, one of the pillars is heritage. Kind of in history, looking at that as part of one of the pillars of the community, as you can imagine, we agree. We think that's good. As Lucan Biddulph continues to grow and change, we want to stay a link to the individuals who helped build this community and the rich history that pre-existed us. And that's why we've embarked on the Lucan Legacy Project. We're going to make an effort over the next few years to collect as many memories and photos and stories of Lucan's past as we can. We just thank you. We just received a letter of support from the Township to and a grant application for this project. So fingers crossed, we'll find out in April. But it's something we're going to move forward with anyway, whether we get the funding or not, because I think it's definitely worth doing. In addition to that, just looking forward, next year we are continuing our bingos, third Wednesday of every month. We're going to be holding our first live auction in, I think, like 10 years in March, which should be something cool. Never been to one before. Yeah, we're just a few other things in the hopping that we don't want to talk about just yet, but we're hoping to keep this positive trajectory of different kinds of things to engage the community and help out the museum. And that's it for me. I can answer questions if anyone has any. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Thomas. Certainly appreciate that update. Questions from council? Councillor Regan.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Thomas. Just a couple of questions. So the Legacy Project, so we're reaching out to residents for photos, letters, and those kinds of things. I just thought it was just a great idea, but when I just heard that, it was a great idea because that's just a really good way to involve just about everybody that just may be able to contribute. And of course, once you're allowed to contribute and sort of become part of that experience, then you're just, again, you're generating a lot more interest. So anyway, that's very good. The other question I had, if I may, is just about school visits. I know we talked about that before, and I'm just wondering if there's been any movement on getting you guys out to the schools or getting the schools back or getting the schools to the museum.
Yeah, thank you. Unfortunately, school visits have been a little rough. They're a hard sell right now in terms of field trips because of the price of buses. We had 2 of them cancel on us this year after booking, which was kind of a bummer. They were repeat visitors too. It is still one of those, not necessarily a long-term goal, but something medium-term that we want to get out to the schools and start. That's part of doing more speaking engagements, getting out there, talking to students, especially if they can't come to us, we can try to come to them with, a limited collection of artifacts and things like that. And yeah, unfortunately, it's been a tough time. I think a lot of places will acknowledge that. And yeah, the Legacy Project, that's a big part of it, is we really want to kind of show people that history is made up of individuals like us. It's not just, a handful of people who did everything, right?
Yeah.
So doing interviews and collecting stories and anecdotes and things like that, it's going to be, I think will be a really good way to show that.
Great. No, thank you. Thank you, man. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. You're not the only one that has tough time getting into the schools. Fire department does too. So any questions, any other questions or clarifications while we've got Thomas here? Councillor Hodgins.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll just have a comment and just say congratulations on a very successful, what looks like a very successful 30th year. The financials you're presenting look great. Like you've been able to raise revenues and lower expenses and reduce that deficit. So that's excellent news and great to hear that the bingos are being very successful and generating some revenue that way. So just yeah, it looks like a great report and great work to everyone and all the volunteers.
Thank you very much. Yeah, as always, huge credit to our volunteers. We could not do it without them and their passion. And one thing next year is we're going to try to do a little bit more of a volunteer drive to get more people on Heritage. But yeah, no, thank you very much. It's been a really good season, and community support is everything for us.
Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, no, echo what Councillor Hodgins said there. I'm just curious on the auction. Just you've got the Donnelly sticker over top of Saturday, March. Just wasn't know what the date was, and then at least on the one thing, or is the day? Oh, there it is, 29th. What is that going to look like? The live auction? Then do you have stuff you're purchasing or stuff you're looking for donation? I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, so the date is my error. That's a preliminary poster. Yeah, no, I that's been corrected for me since I sent it out. So sorry about that. From what I understand, we're going to be following the model of the past auctions. So advertising community collections, so collecting donations, kind of everything big and small. Brad Greaves from Lucan Architectural, as he's kind of the one who brought this to us and really wanted to spearhead it. So it's nice to have another community partner who wants to kind of do things to help us out. The plan so far, from what I understand, is to kind of drive for community donations, and there's a few other elements. They're going to be doing a bake sale, book sale, silent auction, door prizes. So sounds like it'll be a lot, but it'll be fun to put together, I hope, I think.
I know, very good. No, I think, nope, that's awesome. Maybe, and then probably Lisa probably will put it on there for looking for donations and that, but make sure you reach out to Lisa to put it through our social media. So, yep. All right, thank you.
Anything else? Yeah, I will just echo all the congratulations on a great season. And I guess my question is, why the turnaround? Like last year, there was, a significant deficit. And I mean, this year you've got one, but I mean, it's not, I think you can overcome that. But so what do you think was the turnaround?
So like I said, a big part of it, I think, is for a long time, partially due to manpower, or person power. We have really focused on doing kind of one big fundraiser every so often to try to bring in funds. And I think we kind of discovered over the last year that that's not necessarily working in today's environment. Not everybody has kind of the money to spend on a big night out for a fundraiser like that. So kind of shifting our focus to doing things more regularly. And, we're not going to bring in as much on one night, but we'll bring in enough over those several things that it'll make up for that. So that's been a big part of it. We had an increase in visitorship. I have a hard time with it. I know so 2 years ago when Blythe had the theater festival, they did the Donnelly play. We had a big bump. So we were expecting a drop the next year, which was a steeper drop than we expected. But now we're kind of recovering this year. So I have a hard time explaining it. We've tried to be a little bit more active on social media and advertise some of our events a bit more. So maybe that just got the name out there, but I should know, but I don't exactly know why the visitorship took a boost this season.
Well, I mean, whatever you're doing, keep it up. That's great. And of course, I mean, the deputy mayor said about using our resources, but we are here to be a resource to you. So anything we can do to help spread the word and get it out, we're certainly able to do that. So if there aren't any other questions or comments, I'll thank you and your hardy team of volunteers. Remind everybody that the next bingo is the 17th, right? So
That's correct. I have that date correct. Yeah.
I have that one in my book. I've only been able to make it to one, just because of other conflicts. It's been great fun. My girlfriends love it. So we'll see you on the 17th.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Council. Have a good night.
Thanks. Thank you very much. With that, I would ask for a mover and a seconder to receive that report for information. Councillor Westman and Councillor Hodgins. All in favor? And that's carried. Joining us virtually is Tristan Johnson from the London and Middlesex Immigration Partnership. And he is presenting some insight that they've recently put together and was presented at Middlesex County, but on newcomers in our area and the challenges, their experiences, and all the great things that they bring to becoming a resident in our community. So Tristan, it is great to see you. And I will invite you to unmute and turn the rest of the presentation over to you.
Alrighty. Hello, everybody.
Hello, you're a little bit muted, so
Here.
just maybe turn it up a bit.
Yes, I had to move my microphone. I
Yes,
realized it was
that's
pointing away
much
from me. There
better.
we go.
Much better.
Alrighty.
Thank you.
My pleasure. So, good evening, everybody. Thank you for inviting the LMLIP here tonight. We're here. I'm here to share the results of our 2025 newcomer survey. And I know that Lucan Biddulph is growing really quickly, largely through internal migration from London. But as you plan for the future, your workforce in agriculture and industry, understanding that the newcomer experience is vital to your economic strategy. So our goal with this survey was simple but critical: to move beyond anecdotes and get hard data on how immigrants are actually faring in our region. We wanted to know, how do they come here? What makes them stay? And crucially, for a municipality like yours, what barriers are preventing them from fully integrating into the local economy? Next slide, please. So To get these answers, we conducted a rigorous online survey. We reached nearly 400 permanent residents and over 125 temporary residents, like international students or temporary foreign workers. And we used random sampling to ensure that we weren't just hearing from the loudest voices, but getting a representative picture of the region. We broke down the data by age, gender, and education. A key demographic note for Lucan specifically, the newcomers to our region are highly educated. 61% of permanent residents hold a university degree. These are skilled professionals, engineers, healthcare workers, and tradespeople who are often underemployed. So if you have local businesses struggling to find talent, this is a pool of people that we are talking about. Okay, so the next, this graph and the next two kind of lay out that data. And then our region's also becoming increasingly diverse. The top sources, the top source countries are India, Nigeria, and China. And most importantly for your economic development, 43% of permanent residents arrived through the economic class. They didn't just stumble here, but they were selected for their ability to contribute to the economy. As like examples. Yep. Next, you can see a slide on how easy they found services to get. And then the major difficulties they came about for finding services, which notably has to do with transportation and with hours. Moving to slide 11. We can figure out why they came. Why do they choose our region? The top drivers actually do align with your strengths. One is the cost of living and housing. So one of the top drivers of immigration is cost of living and housing. Even though prices have risen, the region is still seen as an affordable alternative to the GTA. And number two is safety. Newcomers come to value the safety that communities like Lucan offer. Interestingly, 50% learned about our region through word of mouth or friends and family. So if you treat one family well, they'll become some of the best recruiters. Now, for reasons why they leave, if retention is a risk, why would they leave? The high cost of living and unaffordable housing are the top threats that we have determined from the data. While there's a lot of single detached homes, a lack of diverse entry-level rental options can make it impossible for new workforce entrants to settle. If they leave, 60% say they're going to go to another city in Ontario, likely the GTA, but 20% said they would leave Canada entirely for, the largest one was the US. And yeah, that was actually after, that was partly done in early 2025. And then when it comes to services and barriers, so slide 7. We also asked about services. And employment help was the #1 service that was needed upon arrival. But there's a county-specific challenge. County residents, we did split the group based on whether they were in Middlesex County or they were in London proper, because we know that the challenges are different. County residents actually reported specific difficulties with hours of operations for services. If a newcomer works a 9-to-5 job in Lucan, but settlement services in London or Strathroy only operate 9-to-5, they cannot find help. Flexible virtual or mobile services are one of the a really great way to move forward in getting reducing this barrier. Transportation was also a major barrier. Without regional transit, a car is necessary, which is a high barrier to entry for a newcomer trying to fill a job vacancy. We also broke down the data by who was struggling the most. And we found that temporary workers who are vital for agriculture and construction often report lower social connection and higher rates of discrimination. Ensuring that these temporary residents feel welcome is key to converting them into permanent residents or lifelong citizens. So, I'm sorry, I'm like zipping around because I want to focus on just the things that are the most important for you guys. we can go to, where is it? All right. So what newcomers believe, we had them rank what kind of services or things that they needed to reach their full potential. The top three were educational opportunities, employment opportunities, and social connections. Lucan Biddulph excels at community spirit. So you don't need to build a massive settlement agency. You just need to leverage that existing community spirit to ensure newcomers are invited into the fold, to the hockey arenas, the parks, and the community committees. So to sort of wrap up, the data shows that immigrants who settle in the county are hardworking, high earning, and eager to belong. The LM LIP is here to help support you in which ways we can to ensure that Lucan Biddulph is a destination of choice, and that we encourage that you use this data, and I can provide the full reports when making decisions, when looking into housing density, transit partnerships, or economic development. So I know that was a really quick overview of a whole lot of stuff. So I just wanted to let you know that I'm open to any questions.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much, Tristan. And certainly, this information is timely. As you noted, Lucan Biddulph's a growing community. And as we look at, housing and the products that need to be offered and the different levels of affordability, this certainly drives some of our decision-making home. So thank you very much for that. Questions or comments from council on the report? Councillor Westman.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Hello, Tristan. I live in the second, the next smallest settlement area in Lucan Biddulph, and we've just had a bit of growth there. 23 new homes, they're condos, and in our condo complex there, we have a couple of families from Cameroon, and it turns out I have a personal connection to them through a mutual friend, and I had the opportunity to meet with them. They've engaged in our community quite well. They've joined our community gardens project and grew gardens this year, and have attended a couple of local functions. They're also like very highly educated individuals who have come here to to use their professional skills. So very excited about that. They're a really nice group of people. Now, my second thing is I work for a very large employer locally we are an extremely diverse workplace, and in our workplace we have 1,800 employees, and there's diversity there that you may not see in other facilities. And our employer, and this is something I wanted to ask you about, is are you reaching out to local employers because many of the employers will have some form of resources available through their corporate body to help, and we do that. We help with permanent residency applications and work permits and things like that. So our human resources and our union work very closely together to provide that support to these folks. And we also make sure that they have availed to them a number of contacts for local services and support, because many of them are coming to Canada with, needs that may not be, they may not know where to find them, whether that be, trying to find a family doctor, or in many cases with new Canadians, their health care is not covered. So they're, if they have any health issues, they're certainly struggling with that. So we're able to help them a little bit. I'm just wondering if through this program, you're able to reach out to employers and as well as communities to help find that support for our new Canadians.
Well, that's music to our ears to hear that the wonderful story that families from Cameroon are settling in, making friends, and joining community gardens. That's great. The story actually backs up the data that we do have. We know that newcomers moving to the county are often highly educated. Over 60% of permanent residents in the region hold a university degree, and we know that when folks out in the county, they often report a stronger sense of belonging and are more likely to be working full-time compared to those in the city. So yes, absolutely. Reaching out to employers is it can be a massive part of our work. One of the things that we have is the LMLIP has a employment subcouncil, a body that explicitly like works on trying to help with employment barriers. But one of the things that we do every single year is that we have a welcoming employer award. So we actively look for employers who have a diverse workers and diverse employees and embrace it. And we try to recognize them once a year at our All Are Welcome Here event that we host at the end of March. But that is actually, I really, really like that idea though. I will bring this to that subcouncil of the idea that various like as you said, corporate bodies and unions have these kinds of settlement help or service or whatnot, and we can try to like reach out and see if we can connect with them, because that's a really, really good answer. That's a really, really good way that we can find more resources to help more people get integrated.
Through you again, Madam Mayor. Tristan, so if you would reach out to staff and get my contact information, I'd be more than happy to help you with that. At least through my own employer, I have good relations with, I'm a union steward there, and I also have really good relations with our human resources department. So I would be very happy to help you connect with them as well, if that would be of any good use to you. Thank you.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, one steward to another.
Any other comments or questions on Tristan's report? Yep.
Thank you,
Councillor Regan.
thank you very much. Tristan, I'm just looking at one of the charts, and it's looking at one of them is 24% have confusion about who to go to help, how to get help. And I'm just wondering, how does that, I don't know, I don't think that's a municipal thing. Maybe it could be, but I'm just wondering how does that get remedied? Because that seems like a large percentage of people that are just confused about how to get help, like where to go. Just your comments on that?
Yeah, that is like exactly the kind of work that the LMLIP is trying to approach with. And yeah, the idea is that there is a lot of services out there, and there's a lot of tools available to newcomers that last mile, of trying to, of just making the people aware of the things that they have access to is a major challenge that we have tried to address in many different ways. Either by making resource lists, like we actually just are putting through a big print list of a settlement brochure that we put forward that gives like a bunch of access to, or just like a bunch of contact information for settlement services based on what you need. But also like we're working on trying to build, this is a really great way that we're trying to help like with like high school students and stuff, of like making a team of like local outreach, because a lot of times these are linguistic barriers that we're trying to get through, or these are just like people who aren't, who don't use the internet or something, or aren't like as online in the same spaces. And so we're trying to like we have a newsletter that works really well, but we also are trying to like get individuals that we can get into all of those little WhatsApp groups and Facebook groups, and also just like the kitchen tables and such. And it's just about the LMLIP is trying to build that kind of network connection. But it's obviously, like, as anybody in logistics knows, the last mile is like most of the work. So it's obviously an ongoing work in progress.
All right, great. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Any other comments, questions? Councillor Hodgins?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you. Thanks, Tristan, for the presentation and information. I think it's good information for us to know, certainly, and just to understand this, how immigrants, the challenges they face and how they integrate into our community and such. And you mentioned the employment benefits and kind of the economic development benefits that can come with these people. And like we've been talking about just in this meeting and past meetings about, affordable housing a lot and what we can do to improve that and have a diversification of housing for people. We're looking at transit. So it's interesting to hear that, transportation can be a barrier as well. So it provides, I think, a good lens for us and some perspective and things we should keep in mind. I guess for us as a lower tier municipality, we don't provide a lot of social services that may be like the employment services and the healthcare services and such. Maybe that's handled by the upper tier or by other entities, but maybe just from your perspective and maybe what things that you could suggest that we could do to sort of, you know, have I guess, an inclusive environment and maybe things that we can do to, you know, make our community more accessible for immigrants. Anything you can share with us or some more takeaways?
Well, I will say, first of all, that it's perhaps, you know, we in London need to be learning from you because the data shows that newcomers who settle in the county actually report a higher amount of inclusion and integration. But there are, again, a lot of the things that you're already doing are like, we've, as we say many times when it comes to like planning, like a lot of the things that are about just being a growing municipality and growing, like, you know, population are things that also benefit newcomers. So yeah, transit, housing are like going to be top of that. It's like, it's encouraging to know that that's pushing. Again, a lot of the times I like what you don't need to hire settlement staff, but maybe if there are ways that we could, through some, maybe like some kind of collaboration or partnership, find like things like flexible virtual or mobile services that can come to you. This, I don't know, I'm not exactly sure about the relationship of the county's government or anything like that. So, but there are like in at least in London, I do know that we're seeing a lot more services start to build on sort of advancements made during COVID to have more things be mobile, have more things be digital, and those kinds of services, or at least being aware of those being available, would be a really good way to get that information out to people, because it does seem like that kind of like time and access, but also just that honestly, the biggest one is just leveraging the fact that you've got the community spirit. Like I went to Lucan for my wedding anniversary this year, and we wanted to go see the museum and the church and everything. But the like Lucan has like the market and everything like that, and like just making those places like, you know, out there and ready to encourage newcomers to participate, and really just I know it's like it's hard to think of it from a policy perspective, but really just encouraging people to, you know, get that reluctant neighbor who's just moved in to come out and do stuff. And I feel like you guys are better at that than we are at this point.
Well, yes. Yeah, good.
Yeah, thanks for all that. And maybe just one last question, a quick one. With your survey and all the people, I guess, do you have, and maybe it's sort of anonymized, but do you know, did you have respondents from Lucan Biddulph specifically, or do you have any data on maybe how many, you know, newcomers are kind of settling in our area, or what the data was from our area and specifically?
That I unfortunately do not have. I do know that the anonymization did kind of break it down by county versus city, because we were looking to try to, because we were, you know, we weren't able to, if we were able to do like a survey where we had like tens of thousands of people fill it out, we might be able to get more granular, but we really wanted to make sure that we got proper data that didn't, you know, didn't lose the county with, you know, just the glut that is London. So we wanted to make sure that like the county had proper data about their own issues, but I don't think that we were able to get like the numbers enough to make something significant out of like the specific townships. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, anything else? No, I just appreciate all the information, Tristan. As I mentioned, you presented to County Council, and I do think this is important information for our local municipalities and the lower tiers to have. To Councillor Hodgins' line of questioning, and certainly you don't need to be a governance expert, but I mean, our social services, our human services, our managed through the county. We use our library system. So, I mean, that's a great partnership. I know you're in our libraries, and that's certainly an area that local municipalities can leverage when, when you're in Lucan or when you're in Strathroy, the local councils or staff can certainly leverage when you're there, and another way that we can connect with the newcomers in our community. But as you've acknowledged, we're growing communities, and certainly our demographics have changed. And I think anybody around the Horseshoe has noticed that the last number of years, that we don't look the same as we did. And we have to be mindful of making sure that everybody feels that they are part of our community and what we can do. So this is great information to have as we build policy and programs going from here.
Timeless thing of a small community with community spirit now growing and wanting to hang on to that spirit while also incorporating new neighbors. So yeah, it's a tough project, but yeah.
Yep, but I mean, but it is the responsibility of municipality, and certainly, yeah. So we're very aware, and we're very happy for the time that you've been able to spend with us tonight. So thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, thank you. With that, I would ask for a mover and a seconder to receive that presentation for information. Councillor Regan and Councillor Hodgins. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. On to the minutes from the November 17th meeting. I know that you've all had opportunity to go through them. If nothing needs to be amended, I would ask for a mover and a seconder to approve those minutes as circulated. Councillor Westman and Deputy Mayor Manders. All in favor? Carried. On to the consent agenda. So there's a number of items in there. There are a couple that we're going to speak to. The first one, and then I'll ask council if there's any other items that they wanted pulled for discussion. Ron, if you can speak to 9.1.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The request came from Sean Gibson. He was the successful bidder on the industrial lands lying north of the Heenan Drain, our industrial complex. What he's requesting is a revised closing date to February 20th, 2026. I mean, it would have been nice to close this year, but to delay it by a mere 2 months it's not the end of the world. I don't think he's out of line in asking. Obviously, he's a young person. He's trying to start a business. He's running into some delays as far as the lender goes and creating the site plan, which is not unusual for first timers. So I would certainly support his request for an extension.
All right, thank you. Any questions or comments on that? Deputy Mayor Manders.
Yep. No, I agree, and I certainly would approve of the closing date request from Sean Gibson to February.
Okay. So do we need to do that motion outside of the agenda only just because of the way that it appears? Okay. Okay. All right. So we're going to pull that one, and we'll do that after the consent agenda approval. I had a question on 9.2 just for clarification, and that had to do with our recognition of staff at holiday time. And I just want to ask, this is our full-time permanent staff that we recognize, right?
That is correct. Yes.
All right. Any other items that Councillor Hodgins?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was gonna pull a couple items. I guess just the next three in order, if that's okay, just for a couple comments and questions, if that's okay. So on item 9.3, the Economic Development Activity Report. And I guess through you to Lisa, just wanted to, we got the summary here of the Community Improvement Plan grants, which is great. Good to see lots of uptake there. I just wanted to confirm if these are all of the CIP projects for 2025 that have been received to date.
Thank you. Through you to Madam Mayor. Yes, that is every application that has been received for 2025. The one business hasn't completed their project, so that'll be carryover to 2026. And we've also secured that sitting in the county. We've applied for their 50% as well. So that's actually, they're carrying that forward for us as well. So, but everything that's in there is everything we've received. There's another one we haven't received the final report for yet, but they're all there.
Okay, great. And just to confirm as well, so these are the grant amounts. So we'd usually do like a match up to a certain amount. So is that correct? These are the grant amounts, and then the business would also be investing that much into their, or at least that much into their project?
To your Madam Mayor, yes. So this is our contribution to the, oh, no, my apologies. It should be corrected. I'm sorry. So these numbers are maybe not totally correct in that. Sorry, my apologies. So dairy lovers, so that would have been 50%. I apologize. I can bring the report forward for the next time with the actual percentages. Dairy lovers is the one that is not reflective. So we granted 50% of that one. The rest of them are our grant amounts. So the businesses would have to, we pay 50% of whatever, that up to a maximum of 5,000. So you see it with Chuck's Roadhouse for beautification. Obviously it was way more than that. So we paid up to the $5,000 for that. Same with Joyride Tattoo. Beautification, the project was much more than that, but our max was 5,000 for the grant. So the adjustment would be for dairy lovers, and that's, we paid 50% of that 3,300. That's the only difference on that.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for clarifying that. And just wanted to ask about the neighborhood community grant. I think this one's, it's pretty exciting, and I hope we can look at continuing this into 2026. And I see there that we're looking to promote it. I hope we have some more uptake with that. And just wondering if you have any plans just for, kind of advertising and getting the word out for that, so people know that it's available and we want to fund these neighborhood events. Any particular plans for that, Lisa?
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor. Yes, of course. So starting the new year, we'll kick off. We'll put it in a newsletter and do some social media campaigns so people can get thinking about their plans for 2026. Like last year, it was kind of a later kind of program that we activated that. So we may not have got as much uptake, but there were a few people during the year that thought it'd be something that they would definitely do for 26. So we will kick off the new year with a campaign promoting that grant program.
Can I just jump on that? Are there any pictures from what that group did of their event? Because that would be great to share so that people get an understanding. I know it can be a number of different things. It can be beautification, but the fact that this group got together, well, it was in particular one family, but hosted an event for the neighborhood. I think if we could share pictures, it might give everybody an idea of what that neighborhood grant could do for them.
Yes, absolutely. I do have pictures of that, and we can also include other examples like the outdoor movie nights, because that's something a community could do as well themselves. So give some ideas of what they can do.
And thank you. That's all I had for that report. So thank you, Lisa.
You might as well just go on with all the ones.
All right. 9.4 Public Works Activity Reports. Thank you, Jeff, for the report. I just wanted to just maybe ask about one item, just with sorry, I'm just looking for it here. With the Saintsbury line paving and getting into the kind of the winter season, winter kind of jumped on us pretty quick there. So that paving is getting deferred, and just wanted to confirm. So this is county road, and they're responsible for the winter maintenance there, and they're sort of, I guess, dealing with the the developer and the contractor on that, and just kind of looking at it from what's the condition of that going to be like over the coming weeks and months, and just looking at public safety and such.
Yeah, and through the mayor, yeah, so that is a county road. There was the developer, Timber Ridge, was working on the servicing of the development up there, and did some work to the base, or to the base coat on Saintsbury. And so the idea was, once the subdivider and his contractor were finished, the county then could come in and do their annual paving program through there. And they were hoping to have that done prior to the end of the fall, and paved from basically Market Street right up to Fallon. Due to some issues that arose, and again, it's between the county and the contractor out there on a couple of those issues. That pavement is not going to get done this year, so it's not like the road's not paved. It still has the base pavement all in place. Everything will be fine. The county is taking some extra work there to make sure that it's plowable and safe for the plows to go up and down Saintsbury. So the general public won't see any difference in it. It's just the timing on the pavement. The county now will have to start that project next year and get that paved.
Okay, great. Thank you for that information, Jeff. Okay, and then just on the next one, sorry, the 9.5 for county council highlights. Just wanted to I guess comment or question maybe about the transit funding, the Ontario Transit Investment Fund. So it looks like the county was approving the agreements with the provincial government for funding these projects, and I guess great news. But do we know what our financial commitment is yet, or is that to come still? Or maybe to you, Madam Mayor, if you have any.
So that is to come. At this point, there's no contemplation of funding yet from the local municipalities. So as an update, Sarnia did sign up to be part of because part of the application for this OTIF extension and this grant is that we are going to assume the Strathroy-Caradoc route. So now we've got the 3 routes, and then it'll be the Strathroy Sarnia to London route that Strathroy ran on their own. They had, when this program came out, they applied for funding on their own, and so they were running that transit route themselves. So we're rolling that in to Middlesex County Connect. So Sarnia signed on, obviously, which is huge. We're a business case in the budget for London, and the budget was passed last week and it wasn't cut, so that's good. And St. Thomas is obviously hugely supportive of this because of the route that's going into Elgin and St. Thomas. Who hasn't been approached is Southwold, and because there's a stop at Amazon, so that will be the next communication that the county will have is with Southwold Township. But the reason we haven't contemplated coming to the local municipalities at this point, at some point that could change, it is because of that transit gas tax. So we've always talked about if you run a transit system, there's gas tax money available for communities that is different from the gas tax that Jeff receives for our roads and all of that. It's specifically for transit programs. And when we've had presentations here, that's always come up, and we've, said, okay, well, we can give you our gas tax money. That's not how it works. You have to be the one who has the transit system in order to get that gas tax money. So we aren't eligible for transit gas tax money because we don't have a transit system. That being said, our numbers will be contemplated when Middlesex goes to apply for that transit money. And that should the money that we kind of, when we've had presentations from other transit systems where they've thought that we would be eligible for whatever dollars from that gas tax fund, that should be contemplated in the Middlesex County numbers. So, and they should get that money. I mean, it's there for all transit systems. So because of that, at this stage, the local municipalities will not be asked to contribute to the transit system. As I say, that could change. But right now, for the life of this grant, which goes until 2029, they shouldn't be coming to us looking for money. So, as I say, because that gas tax money will be coming from the higher levels of government. So, but it's great news that been able to get the support from the municipalities around us, and that we've got, a financial plan that will help us with this.
Great. And we've got transit service to Lucan to London. So, okay. Thank you very much for all that information. That's all I have.
All right. Are there any other items that council wanted to speak to? It's not on the highlights, the Middlesex County highlights, but I will highlight that last Thursday we had the inaugural, and Middlesex County has a new warden, and that is Sue Clark, and she is the mayor of Adelaide Metcalfe. So we congratulate her and wish her the best of luck. If there isn't anything else on this consent agenda, I would ask for a mover and a seconder to receive that for information, and that is items 9.2 to 9.12, which now change on the agenda, but just for reference, it's from the employee Christmas gifts down that this motion will look after. So Councillor Hodgins and Councillor Regan, all in favor? And that's carried. And then back to the request for the closing of the closing date extension. The motion would be that council approve the closing date request from Sean Gibson to February 20th, 2026. A mover and a seconder for that, please. Councillor Westman and Councillor Regan, all in favor? And that's carried. On to items of correspondence that were received. There were a number of resolutions. Did council want to speak to any or pull any of those for discussion? Okay, seeing none, then I would ask for a mover and a seconder to receive and file those items of correspondence. Deputy Mayor Manders and Councillor Hodgins, all in favor? And that's carried. On to committee reports. Blue Water.
Yeah, I've got a couple of things on there under Blue Water Recycling. There is starting January 1, there's going to be some new acceptable residential recyclables. So I'm hoping if someone can pass on to the arena staff. Like, it'd be nice to, if Lisa can post this in January 1, and if we could post this at the arena and try to get this out there as much as we can would be great. So that's one thing. The next thing, I think people are starting to see red lids out on some of the recycling bins, and that has to do with ICI, industrial, commercial, and institutional pickups. And again, if I'll reach out to, ask Lisa if she can put the message out there, because I think it will be confusing for people. It's those pickups are going to be every other Tuesday. Every other Tuesday. It's going to be the ICI, and then our residential is still every Friday. It's weekly, but the ICI is going to every other Tuesday. But the ICI garbage is still Fridays. So it's weekly. So the biggest thing is going to be the recycling, I think, for our residents, not to think they can put it out or the red, if they put the red lid bin out, it will not be picked up on a Friday. They will drive by it. If it's a red lid red lid. So I think it's important for them to know, and it's going to be important for all of council to be able to refer any complaints to our messaging. Because in case we do, we can refer them to what we tried to, I know Blue Waters obviously reached out to them. They do know that. I do feel, well, they put it out there on a Friday and think it'll get picked up, and it won't. It's simple as that. So there's that. Ron, I would like you to, I talked to Michelle, set up a meeting then on two things now, on organics. And there's going to be an update for 2027 on ICI. So the perfect time to set up that meeting will be the last meeting in March or the first meeting in April. And it's going to garner more conversation maybe than staff and council think. So if you're setting up the agenda, just be aware of that, because certainly and mentioned to Michelle, Ron, that we will want to discuss the ICI update for what it's going to look like, and then organic pickup too. But if you could set that up again for the last meeting in March or first in April, whatever makes sense. Okay. And that's everything. Thank you.
Certainly that new list is very exciting of what they're going to be accepting. It is. It's great. It's great. Any questions on that? Okay. CEDC?
Nothing to report, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Oh, yep.
Thank you, through matter. Just a clarification. Yes, no EDC, no formal CEDC report. Back to a bit of my activity report on the grants. Those actually are the correct amounts. So I went back on Dairy Lovers, and that is the correct amount. So those amounts on the report are correct. That's everything.
Okay, thank you for that. Lake Huron, we have a meeting on Thursday. Fire boards, the Biddulph Blanchard Fire Board has a meeting on Thursday. ABCA.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A number of attachments there. Obviously with the provincial proposed changes, there's lots going on there. I was unable to attend the November 20th meeting due to a conflict with work, but you will see on the attachments, item number 1 is a resolution that was passed on the November 20th meeting. Lots of information in there. Generally, the ABCA is not supportive of the proposed amalgamation and the consolidation as proposed, but we are supportive of the modernization and the efficiencies and the standardization that's being proposed. Yesterday, ABCA circulated draft comments to be submitted to the ERO posting, and directors of the board supported those draft comments via an email vote. So those are going to be sent on to the ERO posting, and there's also some draft minutes attached for your reference there, October 23rd and November 6th. So lots going on, but we have one more meeting in December.
Okay. So with the resolution, I mean, they haven't come out and asked us necessarily to, I think they're wanting support for it, to either pass the resolution or a supporting, or just a resolution in support of their resolution. I don't know what the best way is, and I'd be looking to council. Is this something that we want to do? I think it is something that we should be doing. But I guess back to the ERO, I wonder who is taking the lead on if we are submitting comments and participating. I know that I believe that planning staff attended that information session that was held, I think, was it held last week? And so who's going to run with that? Are the local municipalities, or is it the county? I mean, I think in the end, it likely will fall on planning, but is it coming from our letterhead, or is it coming from the county?
I'll do my best to answer that. I did get a chance to talk to Alyssa from the planning department today. She did indicate that Abby Heddle at the county, one of the senior planners there. She's kind of in charge of looking after sort of summarizing the changes and the impacts on not just Lucan Biddulph, but all of the lower tiers in the county. So it's my understanding that they are kind of coordinating a response. I don't know what that will look like, whether that will come from just one letter from the county that will cover all the lower tiers, or whether that will be tailored to each individual lower tier municipality. And I will find that out. And hopefully have more information at the
Well,
next meeting.
I mean, ideally, I'll wait for more, but I mean, ideally, I think it is the responsibility of the lower tier municipalities to get those comments in, since we're the ones that have the relationship with the Conservation Authority. And every municipality is different. I mean, we were talking this afternoon, right? We have a relationship with 2. Middlesex Center has a relationship with 5. So, I think so we'll look for more, but I know those comments need to be in before Christmas break. So hopefully we get them for the 16th.
Yeah, and I just add, ABCA's comments and their resolution. It's certainly on behalf of the 12 municipalities that make up ABCA. But I'd just say, maybe to staff, certainly General Manager Heinbuch is available if you have any questions or want to know how we should be putting comments through. He probably would be a good resource to check in with.
Well, certainly, I think if we could get clarification, if they just want a supporting motion, we can do that for the 16th and still have time to support it. I hear what you're saying, Councillor Hodgins, but I guess I also think there's also strength in numbers, right? So, was there any comment on that? Okay. Parks and Recreation.
Nothing to report, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Trails and Connectivity.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is the annual report on the adjustment for the COLA for 2026. And this follows the same format as last year. What we do is we look at the CPI for all the various months. You can see them at the bottom of the first page there. The average across those 10 months is 2.03%. This next page over is what are our municipal partners doing in the area, and you can see what everybody is doing there as well. The average across those is 2.17%. And so with all of that and knowing what's happening, the recommendation is that the adjustment to the COLA adjustment for 2026 be set at 2%. And just for reference, the previous year, we also did 2% as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Discussion on this report. Councillor Hodgins.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll preface it by saying I'm supportive of the recommendation. We just had an interesting discussion about this when we were doing the ABCA budget, because there wasn't really a policy in place, and we were trying to figure out how the number is determined, if it's based on CPI, and then I think at the last meeting that I missed, there was a resolution passed to choose a month, and they're going to go with that month when the CPI is published. And just with your report, Ron, I think you say traditionally we go with that. Maybe we do have a certain month, the one that's 2.2, but then we're recommending 2.0. And I'm just wondering if that's something that we should consider is, do we pick a certain month and just stick with it? Or is it sort of like look at all the months and then pick a number? Because we just had a really spirited discussion at the ABCA about it. But again, I'm supportive of the recommendation, but I just wanted to raise that for discussion.
Yeah, and I think, sorry, through the mayor to the councillor's question. Yeah, it's 6 of one, half dozen of another. It's very difficult to pick one month and stick with that month, because sometimes, the previous year we were looking at 2.9%. It went from 2.9% in January. September was 1.6%. Then it bounced back up again. So it depends on the year. So, I don't know that, I kind of like the way we do it, because we look at sort of the whole 10 months holistically and sort of go from there. And I think, we're trying to be fair to everybody. And I think we've been fair. So.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions on this? Okay. Then we do have a motion in front of us that the report be received for information, and further that council direct staff to update the current municipal salary grid by applying a 2% cost of living adjustment effective January 1st, 2026. A mover and a seconder for that, please. Councillor Regan and Councillor Hodgins, all in favor? That's carried. Okay, the fees and charges are Tina. Did you have anything verbal that you wanted to add? Okay, all right, Tina. Tina and Catherine show.
Thank you. I will start and so before you is the annual review of the fees and charges bylaw that's undertaken this time each year. Just to ensure that we are in line with fees being charged and update where necessary. I won't go through it all. It is kind of summarized in the report under discussion as to where changes were implemented and reviewed. Some schedules saw changes which every year usually Parks and Rec and Water do. Planning development fees saw some changes, but administration, building and fire were for the most part remain the same. If you have any questions, I can try and answer, or Catherine can assist as well.
Okay, questions or comments? Deputy Mayor Manders.
Just wondering, when was that Biddulph history book created?
$19.99.
So it's almost history.
It is.
So, I'm just wondering about, I forget if we still do care packages or anything for new people that move in, if we should just be giving them out, or I was wondering about just if we had one on our counter out front and we refer people to the Donnelly Museum, and then they simply as a fundraiser for whatever, don't charge them, but just refer people there for the Biddulph history book and let them know, a reasonable price would be $10, their price is $0, and let them sell it there. I just think we should do something to just something to move it along, and again have it out there and say, see the Donnelly Museum for this for $10, and let them know if they're well. Like, have we sold, like, I'm just curious, did any sell in the last couple of years, or?
Don't believe so. This came about when we were doing a purge of things in the storage of the base.
Oh, okay.
There's quite a stock left. And I think we discussed to a staff about having them sell at the museum, but with their hours.
Yeah, I'm gonna take that back because I think it's kind of a dirty trick to do that to them now, because there's just not the demand, it's taking up space and move stuff. So now I'm gonna, when our home builders or real estate agents or somebody, when they sell a house or move something in and say, hey, this is here, and if you'd like to give it to the client or leave it on the table and let them know. I just think we should be, I think we should be getting the message out. So yeah, and eliminate it.
Councillor Hodgins.
Thank you, through you. It's an interesting comment. If it's the green book, right? Kind of hardcover. I purchased one from the museum after my visit there, and that's probably the place where they're going to sell, if anywhere, right? And I don't know what their stock or inventory looks like if they're overloaded, but maybe they would just take them off our hands, and it's kind of like a donation from us to them, because that's where you're going to get the sales.
That's where the sale is going to come. That's what I had in my notes. That is there something that we can do with the museum where they can have them? I mean, at this point, we don't need to sell them. And I think was it done in partnership with Heritage?
Well,
I'm trying to think who came around to get all of our
a
stories.
lot of people who were involved with Heritage were involved in doing the book. And I think at the time, it was the year 2000 was the anniversary. So I think they ordered 2,000 copies and might have overestimated the uptake for that number of copies. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think we're willing to do anything really. And we actually at staff level had talked about, would they do that? So we can certainly make inquiries to Heritage. Do they want to?
Well, I think it needs to come off the fee. Like, I think the point is not to sell it anymore. So whether or not it's distributed through the museum, or, I mean, that's a great idea. Home builder, you know, welcome home. That could be 200 years of history. No, but I think that there's other options. So if, yeah. Yeah. Exactly. They could do a history book bingo. There you go.
We could distribute them at Canada Day.
Exactly. Distribute them
whatever.
at Canada Day. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
That's, yeah. I think that there's some options out there for sure. Was there any other discussion on the fees bylaw? Yeah, Councillor Hodgins.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you. I just saw in the report that it was, you know, we post this on our website and we advertise it in the banner, but we don't, I guess, do we get any feedback or comments from the public or from other stakeholders? Is there we're not holding a public meeting for this, it seems like, but have we received any feedback about these proposed changes yet? Or would we?
No, we have not. And that is something that we do each year, post on the website and in the newspapers. No, we have not received any feedback.
Do we have to post it in the newspaper? Is that something that is required of us?
Notice of intention is required before passing the fees bylaw, but as for the newspaper piece of it anymore, I have to get clarification on that.
Okay, thank you. And maybe just two more questions. Just going through the fees. I think maybe some of the biggest maybe increases were in some of the planning and development fees where some of them are going up kind of a few $100, and I think most of it was just to align our fees and charges with comparators, and just wondering if I guess planning staff or whoever gave these updates, if it does align with, I guess, the cost of the service, and just I'm wondering if we might get some pushback on some of these fee increases from those development stakeholders, and if this, you know, might potentially be a barrier to some sort of housing and development, because we're always looking at more housing and development these days. Not sure if there was a question in there somewhere. Is it just, do we know if it's aligned with cost recovery, or is it just strictly with looking at our neighbors and putting our prices up?
So I can comment on that. The fees were obviously compared with our neighbors, and planning staff gave an opinion as well. And Dan actually did mention, I'd had a question regarding, in particular, our zoning bylaw amendment fee. Our fee is still in two of the municipalities $1,000 lower than others. So increasing it by $200, he didn't suggest any more than that, because it would contradict what we're trying to do with the Housing Accelerator Fund. But it does help keep us in line also as well. We are still considerably lower than two others, but are the same as a couple of others in the county. The other fees, generally fees are in line or lower. I can't say our fees are higher anywhere.
Okay. No, that's good. Thank you for that information. My other question was, and although they're not specifically listed in here, whether I can still comment on it or not, development charges set as per the DC bylaw. And I just wanted to ask to staff, with, you know, recent developments with our grant funding, are we obligated to go back and look at our DC background study and, you know, revisit our development charges? Ought we be doing that, or are we obligated to do that with our grant funding?
So through you, Madam Mayor, I think morally, we said we would look at that if we got a grant. So we did get the grant. I think our intention is to do that at some point in time, but there is you know, and I caution everybody because it's not like it's going to drop $20,000, you know, and I don't want to give that expectation to anybody because there's a few other projects that aren't in there that now should probably be in there, such as the second ice pad, for example. You know, there's changes. So when it's not just a matter of changing one component, we have to open the whole thing back up. So it's a process, and I think the intention is, I'm looking at my treasurer and director of public works here, but I believe the intention is to do that at some point in time. There's not I can't say it's going to be March or it's going to be May or whatever, but the intent is to look at this because we did say if we got the grant, it absolutely would have an impact on the development charge. So,
We have to know what the tender is too.
Sure.
Right.
Okay, no, that's all I had. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for those questions. Anything else on the fees bylaw? Okay, seeing none, then we have a motion in front of us that we receive the report for information and that the proposed 2026 fees and charges be approved and that an implementation bylaw be brought forward at the next regular council meeting for adoption. A mover and a seconder. Oh,
And do we got to add in there removing anything with the book thing or no, or which is fine if we don't,
I will just, based on staff's or council's direction, remove it when we bring forward the bylaw at the next meeting.
Thank you.
okay.
I'll pass
Okay.
that. Thank you.
Yep. Okay.
I think move that. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know if it should say amended
Yeah, I wasn't sure.
as
amended.
amended. Yeah. And you're okay with that, Deputy Mayor?
Yes, thank
Adding-
you.
Yep. Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Regan. All in favor? It's carried. Okay, the next one is tidy yard bylaw update. And I believe, Ron, you were going to speak to this one?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So the former tidy yard bylaw was way back in 2007. Obviously, a lot of things have changed since then, and this has come to light now. And this is a quick and dirty update, which addresses some immediate needs that we have. If you think about a car, this one's just going to patch the hole. It's not going to give it a complete body job. The revamping and the overall look at the bylaw, which needs to be updated, will happen at some point in time in the future. But this immediate amendment addresses our immediate need. I'll put it that way. There are some. There's one case in particular that is proceeding, and we need to tighten things up before we get to that stage. So the recommendation is that the report be received and that council adopt bylaw 46 2025, which is included in the agenda tonight, being an amendment to the tidy yard bylaw. And it updates the 2007.
Okay, thank you. Questions or clarifications on that? Okay, I imagine when it comes back with the whole thing looked at, there might be some comments. A mover and a seconder for that recommendation, please. Councillor Hodgins and Councillor Regan. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you very much. Tina, did you have anything verbal from your end?
I don't.
Okay. Finance, Catherine.
Thank you. The report I have in front of you is for information for council, and the purpose is to provide council with this information on the late fees for the statement. The late fees and statement fees that were charged on the September 30th water billing cycle. At the November 17th council meeting, council had a discussion in response to a resident letter that was submitted and had a resolution for staff to bring back a report on the data regarding these late fees. So that's what this report is for. So you can see in the discussion there, I made a chart that shows you the number of statements or number of accounts that were charged the interest and the statement fees, and compare that to the prior quarter, so the June billing, and the same quarter last year, September 2024. And we apply, there's two fees there, so that they're done separately. Shows like two invoices on there on those accounts. So statement fees were $2,905 and interest fees charged were $9,198. For total fees charged for October was $12,103. And you can compare that to the prior two columns there, and it's about $6,000 more than what we normally see. And of those 581 accounts with the late fees, 139 had received their bill by email in September when they were issued. And 303 accounts of those 581 have had at least one, had late fees at least once in the past 2 years. So just wanted to provide all that different data there for council if they want to continue their discussion on the topic. I did note that as the next step in our policy is to, so in December, the beginning of the month of their next water bill, that we send another statement out for anyone that owes more than $75. And then that's just advising that and then we apply a statement fee to that, and that's advising if it remains unpaid by the 20th of that month, that it'll get rolled to taxes with another $25 fee. And that's in that we started that a few years ago in lieu of actually disconnecting water. So just wanted to make council aware there is another step. So if there's decision to waive fees, I'd want direction on what to do in this next step as well. And then adjusting the 581 accounts would be a manual process. There's no other way to do it. And we did a test, and it takes about 2 minutes per account. So it would take about 20 hours of staff time to complete the reversals if that was chosen. But that can be divided by 3 staff members, which are the 3 treasury staff. So anyway, that's just information for council, if they wish to continue the discussion on the topic.
Okay, thank you very much, Catherine, for that. I will look to staff or look to council for questions or comment. Deputy Mayor Manders.
Yeah, no, we asked for the report. I was in favor of the report. And to me, it still leads me to the same thought process. Basically, from the report, there's 581 people that didn't pay, but historically, there's 300 that don't pay typically. So 85% of people that get billings basically paid how they typically pay. So 85% were able to figure it out. And I was part of the 15% that couldn't and didn't. But I don't think I should be rewarded for that myself, and neither should the other 15%. So again, I guess I'd be interested to hear what other people from the report we got, why they feel that, what numbers were they looking for? So when we see these numbers, it's 85% of the people, again, paid their bill or how they typically do pay their bill. So I guess my comment would be, what were they looking for? Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from council on the report that's been presented? Councillor Westman.
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor. I still struggle with it because there are, yes, 85% were able to figure it out and 15% weren't. But among those 15%, there are a lot of people who, for whatever reason, they're not computer savvy, or they expect the bill and it's what triggers them to pay it. I have to say I'm feeling compassionate about the individuals who got slipped through the cracks, right? And the mail strike confused a lot of situations, and I know that it's a rare thing. I'm also quite sympathetic to the effort that it'll take to do anything to refund this money. So I am the one that brought it up, and I continue to be in favor of some form of relief. And I'm not looking to use the words rebate or whatever. I'm looking for the word relief. I'm not certain how that works. I do trust my fellow members of council to make good decisions here. So, I'm not sure how to proceed with this now based on this information. So,
Okay, thank you. Councillor Regan.
Thank you very much. So I was supportive of some sort of credit, and I supported Councillor Westman. when we talked about this the last time, and I thought about it and thought about it, and I'm thinking, it was like a comedy of errors. I said there was no, I mean, people really didn't have a lot of control. Staff through no further on, they have no control about it was very confusing, I thought, with the mail strike going on. Staff, and again, I think people were a little bit confused about it. I still feel like it's a one-off situation. It's an anomaly. It's something that, again, just it's not to set a precedent of any kind, but I do feel there should be some sort of, even if it's a credit of the statement fee. I think that would satisfy me. So, but again, I'm still supportive of Councillor Westman's original motion. I think it was a motion last meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hodgins?
Better weigh in too. Thank you, staff, for the report and putting the information together quickly as discussed at the last meeting. It is a one-off. It is an anomaly. This the Canada Post postal strike. It wasn't the townships. It was out of our control, and it did cause this inconvenience. But I think looking back at it and all the information, I think staff did acted reasonably and communicated in every way we possibly could to get the information out there. So, I think we should be consistent with the policy and, just not deviate from our standard procedures. So, I'm going to be supportive of the recommendation in the report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. I will weigh in and echo thanks to staff for putting the report together. A lot of information in there and pull. And my thoughts on it, much like the deputy mayor's, has not changed. I do struggle with a refund, a rebate, relief at this. For this, 139 folks in those late billings received it by late email. So they received the bill. So my struggle would be rewarding those that received the bill and still did not pay it on time for whatever reason. That's their choice, and for whatever reason. And again, those that are historically late in paying, again, should they be rewarded for that? If that's how they choose, for whatever reason, that their finances need to be managed. But why would we refund them when that's their habit? I do believe that our staff did everything that they possibly could to let our residents know how to get the bill, how to pay the bill, and what could be done. So I cannot support relief. I hear what you're saying, Councillor Westman. I have sympathy for those that couldn't find a way, but I just think that there's always the chance of there being an anomaly. And what are we setting ourselves up for when there's a circumstance that is out of our control? So I cannot be supportive of any relief. I would look to council for some sort of motion and direction, in that the only recommendation in the report is to receive it for information. So council, I would look to you and say, what is your wish? Deputy Mayor Manders. Just to receive it for information?
Information, yep.
Okay. To receive it for information, seconded by Councillor Hodgins. Sorry for that. Okay, any discussion on that? All in favor of receiving it for information? And that's carried. Okay. Thank you very much, Catherine. Do you have anything verbal? Nope. Okay. On to Public Works, Jeff. Oh, no, nothing from Public Works.
Madam Mayor, I do.
Sorry. I looked, I saw the face of terror. What is in the room?
No,
But do you have anything
I
verbal?
do
While
have
you've got
something
while you've got the mic.
So just later on, as we go through the bylaws, we did bring a bylaw back for the closure of the sidewalks sections for the winter time only. We're not doing winter maintenance on them, and as well as a bylaw that we're bringing back for council to accept the updated winter maintenance plan, so that the sections of sidewalk that are closed are in that plan as well. So the sections, I'll just kind of give a brief. We did talk about a section on Scotts Drive, a section on Nicoline Ave, which Councillor Reagan brought up to my attention that it was a dead end that didn't lead anywhere. And when I talked to outside staff, there were two other sections of sidewalk that are dead ends that do not lead anywhere as well, and they haven't actually been plowed in the last few years. So we added those two sections. They are a small dead end section on Beach Street at Campanelli, and on Campanelli Way, or no, I shouldn't say it, Beach Street at Gilmore Drive, and Campanelli Way at Gilmore Drive. They both someday will continue on to development to the north, but at the present moment, they're just dead ends. So yeah, so that I just wanted to update council on what those two bylaws are here for.
Okay, that's great. Thanks very much, Jeff. Were there any questions for Jeff on that? Okay, Parks and Recreation, and since Darcy's not here, Ron.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Darcy's report in the council package tonight is with regards to the purchase of a box salter sander. He's seeking council's basically a pre-approval to purchase a box salter and sander in advance of the 2026 budget approval. In recent weeks, the existing hitch mount salter for winter operations has malfunctioned. It is being returned to the supplier under warranty, but at this time, it's sort of exposed a weakness here. We don't have a backup unit, so this unit, if we can get it sooner, will act as a backup in the meantime while we get the replacement for the original one. So he's basically asking for pre-approval to move forward with a $14,000 box salter sander for the Parks and Rec Department to look after the parking lot over there, as well as I believe the parking lot in this building as well.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments on this? I guess I'm a little, oh, go ahead, Count. I guess I'm a little confused and I'm supportive of this, but it's unknown when a replacement is available, but they can get a new unit right away.
That's right. So they're two different units. And maybe Jeff is more able to describe it. The hitch mount one is really too small, and what they're looking for, I believe, is a slide-in unit for the pickup truck.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, through you. Yeah, along the same lines, I was just wondering, and sorry if you did say it, Ron, but when we get the new unit, we've got that other unit sent off for repair or warranty. And are we going to get that back and then have two units then, or what's the plan with the old one?
That's my understanding. We will have two units here. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and any other questions or comments? Okay, so the motion in front of us is that council grant pre-budget approval for the purchase of a box salter sander for the Parks and Rec Department at an estimated cost of $14,000, and it will be funded through the 2026 capital budget. A mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Westman and Councillor Regan, all in favor? And that's carried. Economic Development, Lisa.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. So further to our presentation earlier from Jesse McPhail from Republic Consultants regarding our CIP amendments, I have prepared a report that kind of outlines the same things that Jesse presented tonight. Mostly, initially it's policy legislative changes, refining some of the principles and goals, increasing a couple grant maximums from 5,000 currently to 7,500. But the major part of the amendment is the affordable housing program. Jesse did go over everything that is being proposed in the amendment to the CIP bylaw. The big change, I guess, is the new tax increment grant, so TIG, and including that into our amendment. The thing, I guess, for council's discussion, there's a couple of items I think that probably need to be fleshed out a bit, is the agreement portion, like whether it's pretty vague from 10 to 25 years. Do we want to set an amount? It's kind of at the moment left up to council's or staff's discretion when an application comes in as to how long the agreement will go for. We could leave it open. It can be done as a more case by case basis, but I think maybe originally it was a 20-year or 25-year agreement. And then through consultations through the other municipalities, they kind of changed that to be 10 to 25. I'm kind of more leaning to going back to the original. It just gives us more structure for the grant when we are reviewing it. So it's not a case by case basis. It is what it is, not depending on what project's being applied for. And the other part is the introduction of the new retrofit program that is new to the CIP. So a couple of things for council's discussion. Again, staff are recommending implementing the changes that have been proposed, but do you want to say we can put them in the CIP? We don't have to activate them. So it's staff's recommendation that we do activate them come in the new year, but council's discretion if you want to put them in regardless, but you do not have to activate those programs within the CIP. Every year we kind of review them, figure out which components we want to activate. Currently we have them all activated, but like I said, council does have the discretion not to activate it, but I definitely think we do need to include it. So staff's recommendation is there to include and activate. So council's discussion from now.
Okay, thank you for that, Lisa. I would look to council for discussion. Lisa's indicated that there are a couple of areas in particular that the grant and how the lifespan of that when it comes to the TIG, what that looks like. So I would look to council for some discussion on that, or if you've got any other questions or clarifications on what's in front of us. Deputy Mayor Manders.
But I think you said include, activate, which I agree, but what's your recommendation then for the years? Is it 10, Lisa? Or what would you?
So initially it was 2025 in the years. I can't remember if we did put in 20. I think that was kind of what we were expecting. And then the consultants have come back with is 10 to 25. So it's all how long we want to keep that grant going. As long as they are qualified each time. So you still have to make sure they still have the same amount of units that are qualifying. So it is how long you want to keep that incentive going. It can be any number in between at the end of the day. So,
but can I step in? Do you mind? But I guess the thing is, you are kind of looking for a definitive rather than a range, so that when an application comes in, my application is going to be looked at as the same as like Jaden's application. So, whereas you might give me just 10 years, but you might say, oh, well, Jaden gets the 25, that sort of thing. So that's what you're looking for, is kind of that definitive lifespan.
yes, to you, Madam Mayor. So I think because there is no criteria, I think it makes it difficult then probably to determine who gets 10, 15, 20 years, because within that there isn't a structure to say this is where you fall in each time. It's just as long as you qualify with the units, you get the grant available. So we can keep it open, absolutely, but I think probably it would be best to have a set amount. That's the max it would go to. And if the person decides to not keep those units qualify after 12 years, well, then it stops, right? So as long as they keep qualifying, what point do we want to keep that grant going?
I agree with everything you're saying. I want to debate or agree with what year do you want us to debate or discuss or accept? What year are you recommending?
I would say 20.
I'm fine with that. I am fine. I think it's really good. I think it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to take time for you know, it's going to take time for people to do this, but I think it's good. It's and again, I don't think staff would like playing that, well, you, this, that, comparables. I definitely I don't like that. I just curious, that's all. So you know, I certainly would accept staff's recommendation on that. So, yeah.
Any other comments? Councillor Hodgins?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, through you. I thought we were gonna maybe lean towards 10 years, because it seems like a long period. And I think it, like the deputy mayor said during the last meeting we had talking about this, I think the big part is going to be the administration and the tracking it and making sure, you know, year over year that it still qualifies. And just 25 years sounds like a long time to me, but I guess to get that upfront investment to participate in this, maybe you need those longer periods. So I'd be supportive of 20 years as well. And I just maybe share some comments, because we did discuss this at a previous CEDC meeting. It's certainly a lot of information to present and explain to the committee in a short committee meeting, but when we talked about opening up the CIP to affordable housing and some of the TIG and other components, I guess there was some concern from some committee members. I think some of them did want to see us, you know, sort of stay with the status quo, you know, investing in the beautification, accessibility, sort of what we traditionally seen. So there is some concern from the committee about funds being kind of diverted away from those programs that they do feel are important to, you know, support the local businesses, and especially in the downtown core. So just wanted to make sure those comments were heard, but I'm supportive of the 20 years as well.
Thank you. To that point of the comments, like the affordable housing, I mean, that was part of our half application. So I think we can still do the other stuff, right?
Yes, to you, Madam Mayor. So the affordable housing was already actually in the CIP as it is. We're just kind of amplifying it. And the TIG grant doesn't affect the CIP budget, right? Because it is a revenue source. We just won't be getting as much revenue when, you know, for taxes when it comes in. So, and I did actually pose the question to the county of Middlesex regarding using the half funding to get us back that difference. And it was kind of indicated that most likely not. That is not an applicable use of those funds. So we did inquire, but yeah.
I assumed as much. I thought I should just ask the question, though. Yep, Deputy Mayor.
And just in light of the topic only, it's not, I just thought I'd mention to council and staff, I went over, I did go to COPS and look at the two ARUs that Arnie Myersman discussed last meeting. And he didn't quite use these terms, but like fast track or have a part of a quicker turnkey solution for somebody. So if you're ever driving Hyde Park, it's an interesting walk around and look. And anyways, it was just thought I'd let you know I looked at it, and it's going to be interesting as that tracks forward with the county and if they are going to adopt a couple plans for, again, fast tracking. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments on the staff report in front of us? Okay. I think, I mean, I'm just confirm what, you know, I said earlier. I think that this is great. This is a great opportunity. And I think to the deputy mayor's point, it could be maybe a couple years before we see some of that investment. But certainly, I think that this is an exciting addition to the CIP. So you've got the recommendation in front of us. And you'll implement the 20 years. If I'm looking around the horseshoe, I don't think we need a motion on that, but I think there's a general consensus that we're good with the 20. Okay. Is there anything else that you needed from us right now?
No, so through Madam Mayor, so next steps, we'll bring back the bylaw, the amending bylaw to the CIP. We'll change that to the, you know, making sure it's 20 years. So that'll come forward at the next meeting for, you know, activation for January 1st. And then what we can do now that we have that in the system and activate, so we can start really, promoting the programs. And this is a new affordable housing addition to the whole CIP. Again, kick off the promotion of the CIP in the new year and what things, people can apply for.
Perfect. So the motion is that we receive the report and direct staff to bring forward the draft bylaw for approval in December 16th, and further that council acknowledge that adopting the amendments does not require immediate activation of the revised programs, but that staff recommend activation of the amendments for the 2026 CIP program year. A mover and a seconder, please. Deputy Mayor Manders and Councillor Hodgins, all in favor? And that's carried. Did you have anything verbal, Lisa?
Not really, just reminder of the Santa Claus parade on Saturday. See you all there.
Bundle up. It's going to be cold. Okay. There's nothing been added to our business arising under other business. If there's anything that you wanted added to that, then I would ask you to let Tina know. Councillor comments. I can entertain the question after council, but not during council. Okay. Any council comments? Councillor Westman.
I just wanted to thank Public Works for getting our Christmas decorations up. I know they're continuing to work on that, but they got them up in Granton nice and early and getting some good comments. People are very excited about it. So again, thank you very much. So.
Very good. Thank you. Anything else? Okay. Nothing then. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 bylaws in front of us, and I believe that they have all been spoken to. And so the motion in front of us is that bylaws 44-2025 through 47-2025 inclusive be read a first, second, third, and final time and be adopted. A mover and a seconder, please. Deputy Mayor Manders and Councillor Hodgins, all in favor? And that's carried. And as Lisa said, a reminder that the Santa Claus parade starts at 6 o'clock on Saturday, and hope to see everybody out. So motion to adjourn the meeting at 8:14, a mover and a seconder, Councillor Westman and Councillor Regan,